Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, November 1st, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker in just a moment. As always, curious to get Jay Book's prediction. I'll give my prediction as well for the huge showdown tomorrow. What's Ohio State going to do at left tackle? If Donovan Jackson is the answer at left tackle, what do they do at left guard? Can they get good play at right guard, unlike last week where both guys struggled? We're going to get into all that. And as we all know, the ramifications for both teams are massive in this game. So we're going to get into that. Jay Book and I are going to do a deep dive on that and much more. Before we do that, I want to let you guys know about our friends at Swenson's. You guys can get a free milkshake. Deal ends the end of this week. So just go. You mentioned Bucknuts at any Swenson's. You get a free milkshake with any purchase. So there you go. And we'll tell you guys a little bit more about Swenson's. They bring the taste. We bring the taste, we bring the hustle, and we bring the smile. Visit swensonsdriveins.com to find a stand near you. Why do the curb servers at Swenson's sprint to your car? Because sometimes you just need a juicy burger, a pumpkin milkshake, or a Buckeye milkshake, and you need it fast. No matter if you're stopping for a quick lunch between meetings, celebrating a Saturday football win, or feeding a late-night craving for a burger and fries, our curb servers will be sprinting to serve you. Swenson's Drive-Ins, delivering comfort food to your car window since 1934. Visit swensonsdriveins.com for stand locations. It's an Ohio company, too. Visit any Swenson's location this week. Mention Bucknuts to receive a free small milkshake with any purchase. What a great opportunity to try Swenson's Buckeye Shake made with peanut butter and chocolate. Visit swensonsdriveins.com for stand locations. The Buckeye Shake's really good, so there you go. Also really good, dare I say great, is Jonah Booker. Good to see you on a Friday as always, my friend.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm really looking forward to this game. It's equal parts excitement and nerves. More excitement than nerves. Not equal parts. More excitement than nerves, but which is hilarious. Last I checked, I'm not playing in the game. I'm just going to be doing a post-game podcast and writing about it. But, hey, I'm always curious to get the predictions. I have mine written down. So you go. I'll post mine right as you announce yours. Go ahead.
All right. So just to kind of preface mine, I was torn, Dave. This one is probably one of the hardest because early in the week, I did not have a good feeling coming out of the Nebraska game. The offensive line issues going up against that Penn State front seven with Abdul Carter and those guys. Think they have like 14 sacks or something like that on the year. And I'm just thinking like the environment, the disconnect between Larry, Knowles, Day, offensive line issues on the road. I'm just like, oh man. I was like, for the first time in a long time, I'm going to have to pick Penn State. And then I stopped and I thought about it. And it's James Franklin, Dave. I can't bet against Ohio State when James Franklin is on the other sideline. So I have the Buckeyes 24, Penn State 21, and kind of a lower scoring affair according to Vegas. I think the point spread is 46.5. So I got it slightly under that 46.5 point spread.
We're pretty close. I have a 28-20 Ohio State.
Ah, look at you, Dave.
We're pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
You said 24-20, 24-21 Buckeyes?
Yep, 24-21 Buckeyes. That's what I have. It's a game to where I can see it going either way right now. But you look at the combined record of top 5 teams for Ryan Day and James Franklin, and they're both combined are 3-18. So something has to give. I don't trust James Franklin in this game. Ryan Day has proven that he can beat him. So I'm rolling with the Buckeyes, man. Let's go. Hey, we're at a fork in the road with this program right now. There's a lot of stuff that's being talked about, questioning the leadership, questioning the coaching staff. Hey, time to buck nuts up as a program and go up there and smack somebody in the mouth and walk out of there with a nice win on the road. Like, I'm tired of all of the talking, Dave. Like, they've been doing so much talking in this program, and Ryan Day's been saying it at the skull session to the media. It's all about action. Let's get this action going.
I love it. I mean, we talked coming into the season, we thought it was a 3-game regular season, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan. I mean, it might still be a 3-game regular season, but the third might be Indiana.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, they can, as you were talking about before we started the show, the ramifications for both teams are massive. Get into that a little bit.
Huge. This is huge, Dave, because I think the Buckeyes made a critical mistake at the beginning of the season, coming out saying it's championship or bust. I thought they shouldn't have said that, even though everyone knows it. I don't think the program was smart by coming out saying that. And then I also think they made a critical mistake with the athletic director putting it out there that the $20 million payroll, because a lot of people are looking at that and saying, hey, if you're willing to spend $20 million on this team and you have 2 losses at the first week of November, if Penn State were to win this game, that right there is going to drive everything into a frenzy. I do not think Ryan Day will be fired, regardless of how this season plays out. And I'm not in that camp of saying fire the guy, but the heat is going to be turned all the way up to a 10 if they lose this game, Dave, especially when you have Indiana and Michigan, who seems to look like they may have gotten their footing down. It's going to be turned all the way up. You can't have a $20+ million roster, almost a $20 million when you look at the salaries combined, coaching staff, and the 2 biggest games of the season on the schedule, you didn't perform at a high level and get the job done. So I think the ramifications are massive. Now, the one thing I am curious about, Dave, and a lot of media asked about it, was the rotation at the defense. If Ohio State gets into this game in the fourth quarter and the defense is not able to get a stop, and then we look back on Sunday when the PFF snap grades come out, and you're seeing Sawyer 65 snaps, JT 63 snaps, Ty Leaks 60 snaps. And then we're once again looking at the backups with, 8 to 12 snaps total. That right there is going to be something to keep an eye on, because I'm curious to get your take on the mixed messaging that has been coming out of the Woody regarding the defensive line rotation. But I want to see how that plays out, regardless if they win or lose. Like with Ryan Day saying multiple times, rotate, stay fresh in the fourth quarter, make sure our top 4 are healthy. We got to get more guys in the game. I'm just curious to see how that's going to play out. Now, on the Penn State side, they can lose this game and still get into the Big Ten championship, depending on what happens with Penn State and Ohio State potentially. They would need Penn State to lose one, and then probably Indiana to lose one, and then Indiana to beat Ohio State. But there's still the narrative around James Franklin is he can't win the big games. And I kind of think the public has already accepted that James Franklin is what he is. He can't beat Michigan. He can't beat Ohio State. But the narrative for Ryan Day, that drumbeat of him top 5 matchups will continue to get louder.
Yeah, I want to touch on what you asked me. It's interesting because I had heard last year about Larry Johnson that was going to be his last year. And then something changed. And it was somebody I trust profusely. And they were just like, yeah, things changed. Like they said they got it wrong. But they said that they were right at the time. And other people that are pretty good at what they do on the beat also reported the same thing. So
right.
I don't know what changed, but something changed. Now we're hearing the same things, that this is going to be it for Larry Johnson. Maybe that the law has finally been laid down. I know you and I are part of a certain group. I know there's someone in there that strongly believes that Larry Johnson's already been told this. I don't know, man. I guess maybe I'm still not scarred, but last year I was told the exact same thing. Are you buying that? So I don't want to answer your question with a question. I don't know. I guess I am. I do kind of buy it more this time. Not that I didn't buy it last time. It feels like now Ryan Day maybe Oregon was the straw that broke the camel's back, where Ryan Day's finally laid the law down and said, no, this is what we're doing on defense. Jim Knowles, no matter what they say publicly, because Knowles was asked about it, and he's a cool cat. He was like, oh no, I'm good with whatever Larry Johnson wants to do.
Right.
And that was kind of weird. If you took that at face value, I was
weak.
Geez. And I was like, I told people on Bucknuts who didn't like that, which it is weak. Be careful about taking anything you hear at press conferences at face value.
Yeah.
Fair?
Fair. Now, you and I had tweeted earlier this week. You and I, Dave, we spoke to Ryan Day on Twitter Spaces in the spring, and I have pointed out to him because that was a point of discussion on the Bucknuts message board, and I wanted to hit him with that question. Is you look at Michigan, you look at Georgia's defensive line. Those guys won a national championship with their defensive line not playing more than 39 snaps. Like they average anywhere between 30 to 39 at the most. And what they found the successful key was is they were able to rotate in that next wave of guys. So once November, December playoffs came, their defensive line was fresh, number one, and two, the backups had a lot of experience. So they can trust those key backups in critical moments because they have played so many snaps. We posed that question to Ryan Day in Spaces, and he agreed. Start of the season, we got to rotate more. We got to be better at rotating. It's going to be a very long season. In order to win the national championship and the Big Ten championship, you're probably looking at 17 games. It's going to be critical for us to rotate. Here we are again, same situation. And Ryan Day's once again saying we need to rotate because we saw it, Dave. And you throwing that all 22 of the Oregon game, Tylee in the fourth quarter was on one knee. Dylan Gabriel was getting ready to snap the ball. Tyleek was on one knee. Now, and I give him credit. He left everything he had out there on the field absolutely gassed. JT absolutely gassed. Like his bull rush was pretty much non-existent in the last 5 minutes of the game. And the result of that, I truly believe, is they need to rotate those guys. Now, I will say this about Ryan Day, Dave. Enough with the talk. You are the head football coach. This is your legacy that is on the line. This is your job that's on the line. If you want to be a CEO, if you go into a corporate America job and your senior vice president goes and tells your director and your subordinates, I need you to rotate, and nobody does it, and they don't listen, and the product and the business suffers because of that, you're going to get fired. And it's no different here. If your head coach is saying, understand what the problem is with our defensive line, is they are tired in the fourth quarter because of our lack of rotation. I need somebody to rotate. I need them to rotate. You go do it. You pull Larry, you pull Jim in that office and say, hey, you guys get on the same page. I am absolutely sick of it. And then I will say this too, Dave. I've been told privately, and I can share this, is he has talked to them and he has told Larry Johnson that he wants them to rotate. And it was not only before the Oregon game, but he's also reiterated post Oregon game. So if Larry's not doing that, that's insubordination, right? If your head coach is telling you privately and then he's going to the public, and what you say is about the press conference is true, but I will also say this. A head coach in Ryan Day, when he says something to the media, he's not hitting those guys with a surprise. He's probably already have said that privately, and he's just kind of reiterating his point to the media. So we're hearing it, and he's probably said that for weeks now. And so I just think that it's crazy that the head coach has to utilize the media to get his point across to Larry Johnson. Like, at some point, if he doesn't listen, you got to relieve that man of his duties, because he's not only failing the program, but if I'm Ryan Day and I'm going to go out, I need to go out on my own shield. I need to go out making the calls that I want to be done, because the last thing you want to do is, God forbid, you lose this job, but you look back and say, hey, I lost this job, but I didn't go out on my own shield because I didn't have coaches that listened to me when I knew what the changes needed to be done.
Frankly, if he's telling, yes, it is insubordination. If he's telling Larry Johnson to do this and it's not being done, yes, that's insubordination. And as the head coach, especially now a head coach where you're more of a CEO, Chip Kelly's calling the offensive plays. If you think that, let's use Caden McDonald is not playing enough, you turn around and you say, Caden, get in the game. You're the head coach. just supersede whatever Larry's doing in the moment. I mean, Caden Curry. I'm not just going to name guys named Caden, although I think those guys need to play more. Kenyatta, get in the game 97. I mean, get in the game 98 McDonald. Like, Day should just tell them to go in.
Yeah. I mean, I understand there's a lot going on during game day. And you're paying these guys $1 million. Larry's paid $1 million.
Right.
Jim knows is, $2 million and some change. So, to combine, you're thinking like, hey, Jim, you're the head coach of the defense. That's what he has deemed him over the last several years, the head coach of the defense. And Jim comes out and says, I'm just going to defer that to Larry. I'll trust him to make the appropriate decisions. I mean, I would say if I was the next lieutenant, Dave, and I'm making $2 million, and I hear my colonel and Ryan Day saying, "Hey, I want this done," I'm going to be backing him up and saying, "This is what needs to be done. This is the head coach that makes this decision. If we lose, it's going to be on him." And he's the one that's being paid $10 million to make these decisions. So if this is what he wants, we're going to implement it as a defensive coordinator. And if Larry doesn't like it, that's so be it. Find a grad assistant who's going to handle those type of rotations. But it's so frustrating that you're getting so many mixed messages, but not only the defensive line, Dave. I mean, the defense as a whole doesn't rotate a whole lot. I mean, if you look at the snap counts in the secondary, if this team were to make the Big Ten championship and make a run to the 17 playoffs, you're knocking on the door. A lot of these guys in the secondary playing almost 1,000 snaps this season, which is insane. So you don't see a whole lot of rotation, period. But the biggest emphasis is we have yet to get a consistent pass rush from the front four, and a huge problem of that is because those guys are absolutely gassed when you got to have those, when it's those got to have it moments. We got to get a stop. We got to get off the field. We got to get the ball back to our offense instead of letting them have a 5-6 minute drive to kill the clock in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and the coaches can say that, well, the games are shorter now as far as snaps, not the game time, because now they've added more commercials. They realize, oh, we're getting the games over with in like 3 hours and 10 minutes on TV. So now they're back to like how long they used to be on TV a couple years ago, but there's still the less plays. Okay, that can be true, but it's also true that, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like that's an excuse. That's mostly an excuse because you just have to be better than that. You just have to be better than that. That's just, I look at that as mostly an excuse.
And the crazy thing about it is Kenyatta Jackson's been playing really well. Caden Curry has looked great. Caden McDonald, when he gives in, he always makes something happen. You go back and watch that Oregon game, the few snaps that Caden McDonald got in there, he absolutely destroyed Oregon center. Mm-hmm. And then you don't let this kid play very, much more. And I'm watching this game. I was like, ooh, K-Mac, okay. So the talent is absolutely there. And here's the one thing too. I can kind of understand it, Dave, if your defensive ends were playing lights out, meaning like their hair is on fire, they're racking up sacks galore. It's not like you're getting an exorbitant amount of production from your defensive end starters right now. And so give it a shot. I mean, I did also like to question about having Kenyatta and Curry on the inside in the Rushman package. Like, why does that make sense? Because you would think that the two bigger ends who strong suit are bull rushing, where you have your more lighter ends playing on the outside. I thought that was a fascinating. And Jim Knowles basically said we're experimenting. I think that's when you also said, Dave, like that's an answer that you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt from the press conference, because I kind of scratched my head when he said we're experimenting. Like, hey, buddy, we're going in November, man. Experimenting was for Akron and in training camp. Like right now, it's crunch time in the Big Ten, and you're talking about we're experimenting. I thought that was a kind of a weird answer from him.
All right, let's flip to the offensive line. What do you think they'll do at left tackle? Are you hearing anything? Do you think it's going to be Donnie Jackson over at left tackle? And if so, what do you think they're going to do at left guard? And by the way, Zen Michalski, we know, is not going to play. He played very poorly against Nebraska. We all know that. I was very surprised and disappointed when I saw the grades from PFF. Zen graded out poorly. That's no surprise. It was a rough game for him. But Tegra and Austin Cyberveld graded out worse.
Yeah.
Now, Austin only had like 10 snaps. Right. When I saw Tegra graded out worse than Zen, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. So what do you think they're going to do at left tackle? What do you think they're going to do at left guard? And can one of these right guards step up? Can one of the Lakota guys, one of the Lakota West or Lakota East, can one of those guys step up for us?
Well, I think Zen graded out as a 14% on pass protection, according to PFS. Now he fared out fairly decent on the run game because I think their two best runs of the game was behind him. But Tegra, inexcusable. You cannot have Tegra playing that bad whenever you have a makeshift offensive line. At this point, you got to be able to rely on Tegra to be a solid. You don't need him to be an all-star. You just need him to be solid there. As far as the lineup, I think you're going to get Donnie at the left tackle. It makes sense to me to have Austin Cereville starting at the left guard, Dave. I know they put Montgomery in, and they use the excuse that the way that they have been repping in practice, Montgomery was the second-team left guard. So you got a week. I think Austin Cereville he has started at that position. He played fairly decent in replace of Donovan Jackson early on in the season. So why not just go ahead and kick him to the left guard where he has experience starting, keep Seth at center, and then add Tegra at the right guard, Fryer at the right tackle. Nothing that needs to be changed there. Those guys have been playing alongside each other the entire year. Your next lineman will probably be Hinsman, the next one in, and then or Montgomery. Those will be your 6 and 7 offensive linemen. Can we put a bat signal out for Carson Hinsman, Dave?
I mean, I finally, I don't know what took me so long. I finally asked Coach Day about it. Did you hear that on Tuesday?
Yeah. I heard you, and you're like, what's up with Carson Hinsman? I mean, how ticked off were they about this podcast that this kid was on? Like, my goodness.
Right. He really pissed them off. And they can say it was snapping issues in the bowl game or in bowl prep last year. Come on. He started all 12 regular season games, but he had a couple of bad snaps in bowl prep. So you bet. Come on. We all know what happened. And then they can say, oh, Seth McLaughlin's playing really well at center this year. Okay, that's true. But like, are you telling me Carson Hinsman couldn't help out at left guard? And maybe there is some talk out there that Donovan Jackson, a left tackle, Hinsman, the left guard. I do know someone somewhat close to Carson. I reached out. I'm like, I know that you probably can't say anything, but any truth to him playing left guard? I didn't get anything back. But I preface it with I 100% understand that you're not supposed to talk about this stuff. But I said I won't say anything. But they did not get back with me, which makes me think there might be something to it. Yeah. So free Carson. I was like, yeah, that's why I asked Coach Day. I'm like, it's one of the biggest mysteries that I can remember in my time on the beat. The kid starts all 12 regular season games. Not that he was great. Was thrust into action way earlier than he should have been, as you know, J-Book, because Luke Whippler went pro too early. But he held up pretty well, those 12 games. And then he's like been missing in action ever since.
Yeah, it's odd. And so hopefully they can get over what issues they have with him because it's all hands on deck right now, Dave. Nobody thought that Indiana was going to be what they are right now. And you watch that program. I think they have 30-some transfers, and a lot of those are veteran guys. They're playing extremely well. Speaking of the offensive line, the one, and tell me if I'm wrong, them not taking Carter Smith, the Indiana transfer, that might be a decision that costs someone their job. And if the listeners don't know, Carter Smith is a Columbus kid, entered the transfer portal after the Indiana coach got fired, really, really wanted to come to Ohio State and he had valuable starting experience as a tackle. Everyone and their mom knew that this program has serious tackle depth issues, and getting an extra body, it would only have helped this offensive line. But for some reason, Justin Fry said, no, we're good. We're good. And now this is a Columbus kid, remind you. Carter Smith is grading out as the 5th best tackle in all of the Big Ten. And Josh Simmons is still number 1. So you can arguably say Carter Smith is probably the 4th best tackle. If you would have landed Carter Smith the way he's playing, he's going to play in the NFL. You would have had Simmons on the left. You could have put Carter Smith at the right side, kicked Fryer down to the inside. Now, once you have this injury to Josh Simmons, you have a veteran and Carter Smith who you could have kicked over to the left side. Felt really great. It was like, hey, we got a guy who's playing outstanding. Move Fryer back out to his natural right tackle position, and you'd have been plug and play, good to go. Bada bing, bada boom, would have been all right. But they decided to not take that kid, which is weird considering that they had lack of tackle depth coming into the season, and that was always like a major question mark. Like Columbus kid who wanted to come home, play for the Buckeyes, grew up cheering for the Buckeyes. He would, during the time when he entered the transfer portal, he was tweeting out a ton of pro Buckeye stuff and how he wanted to be part of the program, and they didn't take him. It's so crazy. And then someone here mentioned Enoch Vamahi. Who knew Enoch would have been is knocking on the door of being one of Washington's best offensive linemen after he transferred from Ohio State? I wouldn't have seen that one coming on the bingo card.
Regarding Carter Smith, another really odd aspect of that from Justin Fry's perspective that makes it looks even worse. Carter Smith is at Indiana. He ended up staying there, as we know, and he, as you mentioned, one of the best tackles in the Big Ten, ranked as the 5th best tackle, as you just said. Where did Justin Fry play his college football?
Indiana.
Yeah. You have a Columbus kid, everything that you just said. Columbus kid, you need tackle depth. He was good last year as a redshirt freshman. Mm-hmm. Justin Fry played offensive line at Indiana. Yeah. This kid wants to come to Ohio State, and Justin Fry says, nah, we're good. What in the actual hell?
Yeah. That right there is like the perfect layup, alley-oop for you, dude. Right. You got a starting tackle with valuable experience who is from the backyard of Columbus, grew up cheering for the Buckeye, is begging to come and play for the Buckeyes, and you said no, and now this kid is probably going to be a first-team All-Big Ten tackle and will be playing on Sundays and is playing out of his mind for the current Indiana coaching staff. Like, if you would have got him, that would have solved so many problems that they're currently facing right now. Like, there's no way you could look at Carter Smith and then you look at Zen and everybody behind Fryer and them and say, oh, this kid can't play over Zen. Like, what are we doing here?
And George Fitzpatrick's in his 3rd year. I mean, how bad must he be if he's worse than Zen? No one mentions him. Even now Zen's out, nobody mentions Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin Fry. I don't know what is going on with his recruiting.
That's why I said
it's Bowman level. I'm stealing from backs here, but I've thought about this too. It's Bowman level recruiting.
Right. That's why I said, Dave, that decision not taking Carter Smith, we can look back on it and say critical, absolutely critical mistake. And here's the other thing, and it's not like Justin Fry was slaying it on the recruiting trail to where you had a gang of 5-star tackles coming in where you promised them playing time immediately or going to the 2 deep. So it's not like he was crushing it with those guys.
Yeah, it's very, very, very disappointing. All right, let's get you out of here on this. Lathan Ransom, gamesmanship saying he's definitely going to play or definitely going to play? Where are you at? Or not?
I don't know, man. I mean, the beat said that they saw Lathan coming off the field and he was limping. He still didn't look healthy. I mean, I give him credit. When they said he was in the walking boot last week, I was thinking like, here we go with the Liz Frank type of deal, that where he may be out for an extended period of time. But him being back at practice and getting a full week practice in, you just have to ask yourself, is a wounded Lathan Ransom better than a Jalen McClain? I mean, I guess there's some value into having a veteran back there in this type of environment. But I'm curious to see how able he is. If he's not able to trigger and he's a liability out there, you got to get him out of there and get the freshman in there. But you have to, if he's going to make it through practice all week, give him a shot to see what he does. And if he doesn't look up to snuff, then get the freshman in there.
It's also nice that, McClain does look good, especially for a true freshman. His future is bright. And it doesn't look like the moment's too big for him, which is always what I look for, like when I'm looking at a true freshman. But they do have options too. Like they're able to move Jordan Hancock back there to safety, which allows them to put Lorenzo Styles in or to put Jermaine Matthews in. So that's something else they can do. I'm with you, man. I kind of think it's gamesmanship, but hopefully Lathan can play. All right, and you're right, though. Even if he's hobbled, I'd rather have a healthy McLean or a healthy Lorenzo Styles or a healthy Jermaine Matthews in there than a limped up Lathan Ransom. And I do expect Caleb Downs is going to have a big game this week. All right, great stuff from J-Book. He's going to join me tomorrow. What we learned live right after the Ohio State-Penn State showdown. So J-Book's going to join me then. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your insights as always.
Talk to you tomorrow, Dave.
All right, bud.
Yep.
Thank you. There he goes. The man himself, Jonah Booker. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Again, what we learned live right after the game tomorrow. As soon as the game ends, we're going to hopefully be talking about a Buckeye victory. And, man, think about all that's on the table for Ohio State and Ryan Day here. All the talk about Ryan Day can't beat a top 5 team. Well, it wouldn't exercise all his demons, but that would be a huge win in that area for him. It would be a huge, obviously, win for this 2024 team because now they're in the driver's seat. I know Indiana looks good. I think Ohio State's going to be more than fine with Indiana coming here to the Horseshoe, although Indiana is a legit good team with a really good coach. Now they're getting their quarterback back earlier than expected. I think Ohio State's going to blow out Michigan. So I think if they beat Penn State, I do expect it to be tough. I think I would bet heavily Ohio State will be in the Big Ten championship game. So if they can win tomorrow, they're going to be exactly where they want to be for the 2024 season. Ryan Day can silence some of his critics. And then you just twist the knife even more to Penn State, where Penn State has not beaten Ohio State since 2016. James Franklin, what is he, 1-9, 1-10 against Ohio State? So you just keep twisting that knife because they go head to head for recruits. They're the other border war, as we call it. Nothing's ever going to come close to the rivalry against Michigan. And, but Penn State's a worthy number 2. It's a distant number 2, but they are a worthy number 2 as far as rivals. Again, the record's been very favorable to Ohio State. Yeah, it's been very favorable to Ohio State against Michigan, too, over the last 20 years combined. Michigan's had a nice little 3-year run thanks to a pretty good roster and Connor Stallions. I think both can be true. And look at them now. Well, it's so funny. They look like 2019 or 2020 Michigan this year. Something changed? Okay. Anyway, it's going to be very interesting. If they can get it done tomorrow, we're going to be partying like a rock star. And join me on What We Learned Live. Party like a rock star on What We Learned Live. J-Book's going to join me. Pat Murphy's going to join me. Steve Hellwagon's going to join me. And I'm sure I'll have another guest as well. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Go Bucks. And if you're still with me, let me tell you about our friends at Joy Mode. I think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. The issue is that over-the-counter pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode, I just lost it there. It went off there. Sorry about that. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Here are the game changers. All ingredients have been assessed in peer-reviewed journals. All ingredients have been studied and researched in humans. Go to tryjoymode.com/bucknuts. Get 20% off with code bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code bucknuts at tryjoymode.com/bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. All right, my friends. Thanks again. Thanks to the wisdom of J-Book. Always love doing the Friday shows with him. Glad he's going to be on What We Learned Live tomorrow. Hope you guys can join us for What We Learned Live. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of your Friday and go Bucks.